Friends, uh, I'm CA Nitin Pathak. Uh, this is today's seminar on in-depth analysis of the budget, uh, basically for direct tax on Finance Bill 2022. And I am a past president of ISACA Chapter Ahmedabad. We are guiding people to do uh, we are guiding people to do CISA, CSM, CSSP, and many other courses, including certified internal auditor, because this is our main motive to promote these courses. And we are taking different lectures on different subjects, which is available on blog, Nitin Pathak, blogspot.com. You can join us in LinkedIn and YouTube. This is my email address. Any query regarding this budget, you can call on me. This budget is a sea changes. It's going to be far reaching. The finance minister on the budget speech, though she has not given a lot of importance to the direct tax budget, but a lot of collection is going to happen on this budget. And some of the forthcoming and very large affecting budget, I've discussed major one. I'll be not covering few in detail, few in going into details. This is going to be a marathon talk for at least around 1.5 hours. So just continue. And after completion of this, I'll put it on YouTube as well as LinkedIn and in my blog PPT as well as both. Those who doesn't want to listen and move away, they can move away. And it would be any question regarding this budget, you can call on me or WhatsApp me on 9825804094 or email me. I'll choose to give an answer in detail. With this, I'm going on the budget. This is ISACA chapter going to take a number of classes on this subject, including GST, cybersecurity, tips of shares in F&O, business engineering, cybersecurity, liability of internet intermediary, and many more programs which every week we are going to conduct. Our president is Kushru Doctor. He is a champion on the subject. Manish Naik, Bhavik Nagori, and Viral Nagori. We are with the team, and every year we are increasing our membership by 50%. This year also our target is that, and we are able to achieve is we are the second highest increase in the percentage wise. We are going to talk on next talk on 18th February 2022 Friday. I'm going to talk on the same subject, GST and real estate transaction. There will be in-depth decoding would be there. Please join this also. When budget comes, there was an expectation that there would be an increase in the slab rate, wealth tax would come, ST duty would come. There are many things were talked, but it has not come. There are no changes in the slab rate. Cooperative society has been taken par with the companies. Consortium AOP limited company will not be liable to maximum margin rate. The rate of long-term capital gain has been reduced from 37% above 5 crore to 3 crore. These are major changes. Certain provisions are retrospective, though it is not mentioned in the law. So we are not going. But certain High Court or Supreme Court may not like to go retrospective, and they may take a view that the law as on date would prevail rather than changes retrospectively. This may happen. We will discuss this on the. One of the most important things which they have come into picture was virtual digital asset, cryptocurrency. Crypto was in the market. Here they have defined VDA, virtual digital asset, include cryptocurrency. So whenever I use word crypto for this section, you consider the word as virtual digital asset only. But here you need to take care that Indian government is going to have their own Indian currency, which is going to be in market very soon. They are going to come with the crypto law also, but government has say what it may be before we can conclude, because this provision is likely to receive 2,000 crore as a revenue from this transaction, this budget only next year. The virtual crypto buying and selling would be taxable under the head income from other sources, because it is not considered as a capital asset, not considered business asset, but it is, and so it has been, it would be taxable under head income from other sources. The taxability of crypto would be sale price minus purchase price. वो सपोज मैंने 3 लाख में क्रिप्टो खरीदा, 1 लाख में बेचा, तो 2 लाख का 30% would be liable for tax. No expenses will be allowed for crypto transaction. Any expenses incurred for buying and selling or loan taken or any other crypto, I have to put it in my crypto wallet. Crypto wallet charges I have to pay when I have to pay. When I have to do this, I have to pay the tax. So this will not be a deductible expenses. 1% of TDS would be deducted for the sale of transaction under section 194S. Section 194 has been introduced to any sale consideration will be deducted at the rate of 1% sale price per, not of a profit, not of this capital gain. This is very huge revenue would be, because government wants to trail the transaction. So they have decided to tax 1% of sale consideration as TDS. There are only few transactions which will not be taxed. If any person dealing with a transaction less than 10,000, no one will deduct TDS on that. If any transaction which is exceeding rupees 10,000 for a sale consideration, it will be liable for tax, except for specified persons. If it is more than 50,000, that specified person also needs to deduct TDS. But for specified person is equal to individual NHF, whose turnover is less than 1 crore and whose income from business or profession less than 50 lakh. Otherwise, this TDS will be deducted. Gift of virtual digital asset will be taxed in the hand of recipient at the rate of 30%. Suppose I give a gift to my cousin, it would be liable at the rate of 30%. But if I give a gift to my daughter, it will may not be taxed. So उन्होंने गिफ्ट के अंदर 56 to 10 में इसको कवर कर लिया है. प्रॉपर्टी की डेफिनेशन में इन्होंने क्रिप्टो मतलब वर्चुअल डिजिटल एसेट को ऐड कर दिया है. तो any gift given under section 56 to 10 will be taxed as a crypto asset. So this is the way the crypto is going to be taxed. Crypto का definition है, which is like if I, because I'm not going into detail because I have to, I have to cover so many slides. So I'm not going to talk on virtual digital asset define नहीं करता हूँ, but virtual digital asset is a token, fungible token, number, and it may be otherwise a value, digital representation, a promise value, function, any financial transaction is transfer or store, trade or traded economy and electronically. So I'm not going into this definition in detail. Any fungible token will be considered as this. Any other digital asset as may be defined by the central government, because central government does not know how to this. They would be issuing digital notification. Non-fungible means a digital asset as defined as asset as by notification the officer get. For expression of currency, foreign currency and Indian currency same meaning. Any currency is not a digital currency. 115BBH में this new section added, sell minus income tax will be liable at 30%. इसका जो लॉस है वो किसी के सामने कैरिड फॉरवर्ड नहीं होगा. इनका लॉस है कैरिड फॉरवर्ड नहीं होगा. इनका लॉस है तो वो किसी और के सामने एडजस्ट नहीं होगा. इनका गेन है तो किसी प्रॉफिट के सामने नहीं होगा. एनी वीडीए टू वीडीए विल बी अलाउड. सपोज मैंने एक क्रिप्टो बेचा जिसमें मेरा गेन है, दूसरे क्रिप्टो में मेरा लॉस है, तो वो आमने सामने एडजस्ट हो जाएगा. No direction, no set of one crypto to another crypto will be allowed. 194S मैंने बता दिया कि any 1% TDS will be deducted. अगर इंडिविजुअल मैं हूं और मेरे को 50,000 से ज्यादा मैंने ट्रांजैक्शन किया, आई डोंट नीड टू हैव अ TDS. जैसे हम सेल ऑफ प्रॉपर्टी में अगर टैक्स भरते हैं तो हमारे पास टर्न नंबर जरूरी नहीं है. You don't need to have a ton number and still you can deduct TDS. This is still will be valid in this case also. So TDS का provision की जरूरत नहीं है. If any transaction is made partly in cash and partly in check, partly other than not cash or check are same, but partly in different other than cash, other than check, the same person, as in the case of lottery, when we give a pay lottery, say Mercedes, we are collecting a TDS from the person and giving a Mercedes, or we are grossing up. The same shall be applied here also. मैंने स्पेसिफाइड इंडिविजुअल की डेफिनेशन कवर कर दी है चैप्टर 4 में. 2 से नो टर्न नंबर की जरूरत नहीं है. सस्पेंस अकाउंट में अगर इफ आई पास एन एंट्री that I'm giving a crypto to my X person. So when I pass an entry in the books of account at that time or to the suspense account, TDS needs to be deducted. I have covered everything here in this slide. 56 to 10A मैंने बताया कि वो प्रॉपर्टी की डेफिनेशन में है. गिफ्ट टू रिलेटिव अगर स्पेसिफाइड ओकेजन में हो तो नहीं लगेगा, अदरवाइज गिफ्ट विल बी लायबल फॉर टैक्स. नाउ आई एम गोइंग टू सेक्शन विच इज वेरी डाइसी वन. 148 का जो अभी भी काफी हाई कोर्ट और सुप्रीम कोर्ट में ये जो लास्ट ईयर उन्होंने जो किया था इसके पर देयर वर मेनी केसेस गोइंग ऑन. दे आर नॉट liable to reopen the assessment, any assessment. So what government wants to do in planning, that any assessment should be framed अगर आपके शांति के लिए, अगर आपका एक बार रिटर्न भर दिया ओवर हो गया तो it should not be reopen. So it need not be reopen, otherwise then special case. तो इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट ने प्रोविजन बनाई थी कि if your income tax return can be reopened if it is exceeding 3 years, 3 से 10 साल तक. अगर 50 लाख से ज्यादा आपकी अनडिस्क्लोज इनकम है तो ही रीओपन होगी. अगर उसके लिए इन्होंने दो ही सेक्शन रखा था, दो ही प्रोविजन रखा था कि केस में रीओपन हो जाए इन केस ऑफ ए रिस्क फ्लैगिंग by the software made by the government through AI, and in case of CAG audit. But इन्होंने ये section और before issuing an order reopening, they were following the provision under section 148A. बट ये सब भूल के गवर्नमेंट ने ये सब भुला के पूरी प्रोविजन 1 साल में पूरा चेंज कर दिया. दिस इज गोइंग टू बी ए सी चेंज इन assessment proceedings. And if your tax, if you have evaded tax of taxable income more than 50 lakh, you're likely to reopen. This is the section which I'm going to discuss right now. The said section provides that for issuance of notice to person before making the assessment, reassessment or recomputation. This is the old provision. Under section 140 of the income tax act requiring such person to furnish a return. 147 में ये लोग आपको रिटर्न भरने के लिए बोलेंगे और any other person which you are liable to within prescribed time में, prescribed form में, in prescribed manner, setting for such particulars. आपको रिटर्न भरने के लिए 147 में नोटिस दे सकते थे. Now it is proposed to insert a new provision of section first provision to the effect that approval to issue 148 में मैंने बताया था कि आपको पहले नोटिस दी जाएगी कि why your case should not be reopened, and you have to give an SCN, and on the basis of explanation your case is reopened and the case is heard. बट इन्होंने इसको चेंज करने के लिए 148A(D) में बताया कि 135A(1) में जो प्रोविजन है, 135 की प्रोविजन में क्या बताता है कि फेसलेस कलेक्शन ऑफ ए डेटा अगर है तो इन दैट केस यू डोंट नीड टू बी served a notice to reopen the case. They can directly reopen by the assessing officer by taking a permission as per specified authority. Now I am reading the section as it is mentioned in the law. It is proposed to insert a new provision under section first provision to the effect that the approval to issue notice under section 148 shall not be required where the assessing officer with the prior approval of specified authority has been passed an order under clause D of section 40A that it is fixed to issue a notice. So they will issue a notice. पहले जो था और अभी में फर्क क्या है? अभी जो नई सेक्शन है इसमें एनी इंफॉर्मेशन, पहले रेड फ्लैग वाला था. These are the cases in which a case can be reopened. Any information in the case of SSC for the relevant year in accordance with the risk management strategy formulated by the board from time to time. अगर बोर्ड को लगता है कि any information is there which is risk and government is likely to collect a tax or you have evaded a tax, then they can issue a notice on the basis of 148(1). ये रीजन पे ऑडिट प्रोविजन, पहले ऑडिट था तो अनिधि CAG का ऑडिट था. एनी ऑडिट objection to the fact that assessment in the case of SSC for relevant assessment has not been made in accordance with the provisions of this act. तो ये जो what the government saying any audit objection is leading to a tax evasion, in that case they can reopen the case by issuing notice under 147 read with 148. नोटिस इशू करेंगे, बाद में रीअसेस होगा. Any information received under agreement referred to in section 1991 90A because of bilateral agreement, there are many information coming from abroad directly to the government providing that this person has done this thing, this person has done this transaction abroad, or certain things on the basis of which he is invested something. This information can be used. Any information made available to assessing officer under the scheme notified under section 135A. 135A showing faceless collection of information. On the basis of that, the information which is useful to the assessing officer has come to a conclusion that the assessment can be made, then in that case assessment can be reopened under section, the notices can be served and reassessment can be done under section, assessment can be done under section 147. Even if assessment is done, reassessment will be done. Any information which requires action in consequences of an order on the tribunal or court. It is proposed to amend clause 2 of expression 2 of the said section to omit with section 2 135 section 133A. ये इसकी वजह से इन्होंने omit कर दिया है. This amendment will take effect from 1st April 2022. It is also proposed to amend expression 2 to the said section provide that SSF shall be deemed to have information that which suggests that income chargeable to assess income has escaped assessment income where the search is initiated or books of account or other document or any asset or requisition or survey is conducted in case of SSC, money, bullion, jewelry or other valuable article or books of account or document that sees the requisition of any other person. So any search of person's account or any other account on the basis of which the information is available, the SSC officer can reopen the case. This is retrospectively from 1st April 2022. Clause 45(6) to amend 148A of the income tax relate to conducting inquiry, providing opportunity before being heard. Before issue of notice under it is observed that ये क्या बोलते हैं, अभी आपको 148 में opportunity देने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. Once your information is 135A, you just directly reopen the case. If you go to 148A, there will be a lot of ifs and buts. Now, in case of 135A, clause D is added to ABC explanation proviso to this. Income tax escaping the assessment can be reopened without giving an hearing to the person, to an SSC. 148 B. Clause 46 to insert 40 new 48B relating to prior upload of assessment, reassessment, and recompensation cases. The proposed new section seeks to provide that no order of assessment, reassessment or recomputation shall be passed by assessment below the rank of. इन्होंने ये बताया कि इनको रीओपन करने के लिए joint commissioner is the minimum level at which the assessing officer can be done, and they will also take a prior provision of additional commissioner or additional director general in respect of year 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Explanation of 148 apply. 149. Amendment to section 1 is relating to time limit of notice. पहले जो टाइम लिमिट होता है 3 to 10 years, 50 lakh और वो मोर 50 lakh का अगर तुम्हारा कोई एसेट छुपा दिया है और नहीं कंसिडर किया, सो इट वाज रिलेटिंग टू एसेट ओनली, but now they have added 2 more, second and third section is added. बराबर है 2 and 3 which we will discuss. It is proposed to amend the clause B of subsection 1 of the said section to provide that no notice shall be issued for the relevant assessment year 3 years but before 10 years. अगर मेरा assessment year 31st March 22 है फाइनेंशियल ईयर, तो असेसमेंट ईयर 31st March 23 को कंप्लीट होगा. इसका 3 साल बाद का अगर रीओपन करना है और 10 साल के अंदर, तो देयर आर फॉलोइंग प्रोविजन नीड्स टू बी मेड. 3 but prior to 10 years at the end of relation, unless they say as in his possession is books of account or other document evidence in the. अभी मैं फिर से बोलता हूँ, the assessing officer has in his possession books of account or other document or evidence. एविडेंस क्या होगा? उधर से आया, AIR से आया, कहीं से इंफॉर्मेशन आई, दैट इज कॉल्ड एविडेंस. ओके, दिस इज कॉल्ड इंफॉर्मेशन. डॉक्यूमेंट, तुम्हारा घर से कोई डॉक्यूमेंट मिला, किसी और के वहां गए और डॉक्यूमेंट में मिला कि तुमने 1 करोड़ का घर खरीदा है, बराबर है. जब डॉक्यूमेंट हुए तो 30 लाख का हुआ, तो दिस वुड बी एन डॉक्यूमेंट अवेलेबल टू देम. बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट, तुम्हारा बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट और अदर्स बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट वेयर is represented in the form of an asset. तो इसमें लिखा है कि तुम्हारे पास 1 करोड़ का गोल्डन बुल खरीदा है, तुमने क्रिप्टो खरीदा है, तो दिस विल बी एन एसेट. एक्सपेंडिचर, मैंने घर रिनोवेशन किया, मैंने घर बनाया और मैंने शादी की, बच्चे की शादी की और कहीं फॉरेन टूर पे लोग गए, घर में 10 लोग, तो एक्सपेंडिचर इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ अ ट्रांजेक्शन और इन रिलेशन टू इवेंट और ओकेजन. एनी एंट्री, मैंने बुक्स में एंट्री पास की 1 crore expense account debited to capital account, so that will be an entry or entries in the book which has escaped the amount or likely to amount rupees 50 lakh or more. 50 lakh in year देखा जाएगा, 50 lakh in over a period of देखा जाएगा. These are the dicey issue. तुम 50 lakh कैसे फाइनेंशियल में गिनोगे? That is also a very good issue. This section will be starting from first एक सेकेंड, 1st April 2022 से ये सेक्शन 149. सो दिस सेक्शंस आर क्वाइट फॉर रीचिंग. तो रीओपन के केस में इन्होंने कितनी सारी जो प्रोविजन है वो बदल दी, वो मैंने डिस्कस किया. पहले खाली एसेट था, पीरियड अलग था, इंफॉर्मेशन अलग थी. सो नाउ द होल सेक्शन इज रिवैम्प्ड. So it is again like reassessment. पहले अब हमको assessment की 147 बहुत कम chances है reopen होने का, but that chances have increased because of audit, information. काफी 135 है, ये काफी section बड़ी कर दिया है. तो this is likely to be in a nightmare for many. अब एक वेल सेटल्ड लॉ था कि सोर्स ऑफ द सोर्स इज नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट इन केस ऑफ एक्सेप्ट शेयर कैपिटल इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड. अगर मैं सो व्हाट दे सेइंग, आई हैव टू एक्सप्लेन द सोर्स ऑफ ए सोर्स टू द satisfaction of the AO. If I have not given an explanation or given an explanation which is not to the satisfactory of AO, it will be likely to be reopen a Pandora's box. So any loan or borrowing or any such name by whatever name call. Suppose I have taken a loan from State Bank of India. How can I go and ask State Bank of India, give me a source of your source? Or if, say, let me give a hypothetical example. Shah Rukh Khan has given me 10 lakh as I want money, and I've given him an email, and he said, okay, I need you need a money because of a medical emergency or any other emergency, and he is obliged to give me 10 lakh. And can I ask him, give me a source of source where you got a money? I've given an extreme example, but this is a possibility. Sometimes people give me money. Why he would give me his bank account? Why he will give me the source of the source? This is given a Pandora's box. This section will be applicable from 1st April 2023. There was a well settled law. आप identity दे दो, confirmation दे दो, genuineness prove करो, credit worthiness prove करो. मैं शाहरुख खान है तो शाहरुख खान मेरे को 10 लाख तो जो credit worthiness is proved. But how you need to show the source of a source? This is the provision as should be as it may be. But the government is go one step further. As in the case of share capital, this is going to be the whole game which I said in the past. अभी क्या होता था कि many companies are doing abroad and there sometimes they are violating the law. Suppose GST रिटर्न भरना रह गया तो वो उसका जो इंटरेस्ट है वो पेनल्टी वो नहीं मिलेगी. फॉरेन की जीएसटी की बात कर रहा हूँ. उन्होंने कोई कॉन्ट्रवेशन किया, रास्ते पे गए, ट्रैफिक सिग्नल तोड़ दिया, और काफी चीजें जो तुमको पता भी नहीं होती इन अब्रॉड कंट्री. एंड सेबी का लो है, इनसाइडर ट्रेनिंग होता है, काफी चीजें. यू ब्रेक द यू डोंट इंटेंड टू ब्रेक द लॉ but you have broken the law. And they say that there was a case going on in many courts that this violation of law is for India, but it is not it is not necessary that you are it's not applicable to foreign law. Law means Indian law, but government says no. Any compounding, any expenses incurred to prevent yourself in the other law, you are not allowed to incur the expenditure. This expenditure will not be allowable as a business expenditure. This is being changed. So expense is disallowed for an offense abroad. 40C, ये section है काफी, though it is a very very simple, but many court has taken a view that surcharge and cess paid by them is allowable expenditure. Government says nothing doing. They have changed the law with the retrospective amendment from 2005-6, and they have said under section 40, any payment by you for cess and tow will not be allowable as a business expenditure. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole section. Slum sales होते थे, इसमें generally sale word यूज था, but when it goes to this thing, any transfer word उन्होंने ले लिया है. तो it's obvious, but to clarify that, they have added words, they have replaced the word sales transfer instead of sales. So any slum sales, there may be in some case there will not be a move transfer. There may be a क्या बोलते हैं, exchange or many things is possible, reorganization, transfer. So they have changed this definition. 194 IA. पहले क्या होता था कि 50 लाख की प्रॉपर्टी, 40 लाख की प्रॉपर्टी है, consideration and stamp valuation 60 lakh. 60 lakh property 60 lakh का है, stamp valuation 50 lakh है. So they say that any deduction of tax, if sales consideration or stamp valuation, whichever is higher, tax need to be deducted at 1%. वो आपका जो 5% या 10% का जो मार्जिन था वो तो अवेलेबल है. गवर्नमेंट इज इंटेंडेड टू कलेक्ट द information. They are not interested in 1% of the difference between stamp valuation and consideration. What they want is an information. This 194 IA apply to other than agriculture property. 139(8)(a), in case of updated return is allowed. So many times what was happening, at the time of return, certain information may not be available. Because of that, you have not filed a return or you have missed to file a return. So government has said that you are allowed to file a revised return under section 139(8)(a). And for that, if it is paid within 1 year from the date of completion of assessment year, from 1 year from the end of the assessment year, 25% penalty, more than 12 months, 50% of penalty. And this tax payable needs to be calculated, includes interest as well as fees payable. ये अगर आप एक ही बार उसको यू रिवाइज कर सकते हो. And I give you an example that suppose 31st financial year, 31st March 22, your assessment year ends on 31st March 23. So you can file a revised return up to 31st March 25. And this is a provision. And you can file updated return once only. There are certain conditions in which you are not entitled to file a revised return. There is a tax calculation mechanism which is explained in section 140A. And I'm going one step. It is further proposed to provide the ones who shall not apply. इन्होंने ये कंडीशन ये रखी है कि if a return of loss is there, you cannot file a revised return, or they're affected in decreasing the tax liability on the basis of return filed under section 139(1), 4 और 5. आपने एक बार रिटर्न भर दिया, इस पे रिवाइज करने के लिए you cannot file a return loss return, or you cannot reduce the tax liability. If you want to file a revised return and it is result in a refund or increasing in a refund, you cannot file a revised return under section 139(1), 4 and 5. So ये provision से आपको tax भरना ही आएगा. You cannot do it other than that. If you want to do the one section, you go to section 119 if you want to increase the refund or claiming a loss. Further, you cannot file a revised return or updated return. The word use updated return, where a search is initiated against you, where the books of account, other document or asset requisition under section 132 in case of such person. A survey has been conducted under section 133A और अदर देन ये TDS सर्वे को इन्होंने एक्सक्लूड कर दिया है. In case such person is or a notice has been issued to the effect that any money, bullion, jewelry or valuable article things seized or acquired under section 132A, 132, 130 in the case of any that belong to such person. ये केस में नहीं, a notice has been issued to the effect that any books of account or document seized or acquisition under section 132, section 132A, in the case of any other as a pertain to or any other information obtained therein relate to such person for the assessment of previous in such term is initiated survey. इसका 2 साल तक भी आप रिवाइज रिटर्न या अपडेटेड रिटर्न नहीं भर सकते हो. Next, it is also proposed that no updated return shall be allowed in case there is assessment, reassessment or recomputation or revision income is pending or has been completed in relevance assessment year. तो आपका असेसमेंट, रीअसेसमेंट, रिकॉम्पिटिशन ये सब पेंडिंग है और कंप्लीट होगा तो भी आप नहीं भर सकते. The assessing officer has information in respect of such person that assessing officer, the possession under smuggler, forfeiture of property act or prohibition of benami act, prevention of money laundering act, black money act, imposition of tax, the same. That person, the information is with you, they cannot file a revised return. They cannot file a revised return if certain information is received under section 19A, 90A, or a prosecution is launched under section 22 for the relevant assessment year. They cannot file a revised return. Further, I am telling following persons are not it is also proposed to insert a clause. ये आपको भरने रिटर्न भरने से पहले आपको टैक्स का रिटर्न भरना जरूरी है, टैक्स भरना जरूरी है। दिस अमेंडमेंट विल बी एप्लीकेबल फ्रॉम 1 अप्रैल 2022। नेक्स्ट ईयर से आप रिवाइज रिटर्न भर सकते हो। इसका टैक्स का कैलकुलेशन कैसे करना पड़ा? इफ यू आर नॉट फाइल रिटर्न, पहले आप रिटर्न तैयार कर दो, टैक्स उसके ऊपर आपने जो टैक्स भरा है वो ले लो, टीडीएस ले लो, 1891 की रिलीफ ले लो, 1991 जो DTAA है तो DTAA, और अपने DTAA नहीं है तो आपने उसकी इनकम और ऐड करके जो भी टैक्स भरा है वो स्क्वायर ऑफ कर दो, रिलीफ अंडर 90A क्लेम कर दो, 115J मैट और मैट का क्रेडिट फॉरवर्ड जो भी ATM है वो ले लो, एंड देन इफ इट इज आपका जो भी टैक्स बनता है उसका टैक्स प्लस फीस, फीस भी इसमें ऐड करनी पड़ेगी, प्लस 25% if it is less than 12 months, less than 12 months from assessment year. If it is more than that, 50%. Now, if you have already filed the return, if it is further said, if you have already filed a return under section 139(1)(4)(9), डिफॉल्ट आपका जो डिफॉल्ट जो भी अपने एडवांस टैक्स भरा, एडिशनल टैक्स भरा, उसका इस तरह से कैलकुलेशन करके यहाँ से आपको बता अमाउंट ऑफ रिलीफ 140A का जो है वो क्लेम कर दो, 6B का जो है तो दिस इज अ वेरी लेंथी प्रोसीजर, सो आई एम नॉट गोइंग इनटू डिटेल ऑफ दैट, बट द सेम वे एज अबव एक्सेप्ट एडवांस टैक्स 234A B C, जो भी आपको उधर मिलता है वो यहाँ मिलेगा, और आपका जो भी रिफंड है वो इंक्रीज हो जाएगा। Now, this is a very important provision for search, seizure, requisition survey. पहले हमारे यहाँ सर्च होता था और हमारे यहाँ हम बोलते थे 1 करोड़ का हमारा स्टॉक है, वो 1 करोड़ का 2 करोड़ हो गया, सो इट्स ए पार्ट ऑफ बिजनेस इनकम। सो 1 करोड़ हम बिजनेस इनकम में ऐड कर देते थे और हमारा सेट ऑफ लॉस कम कर देते थे, बट नाउ द सेक्शन सेज दैट Section 79A, no set off of loss, search, requisition, survey. The proposed new section seeks to provide that, notwithstanding anything contained in the act, no set off of losses brought forward or otherwise unabsorbed depreciation shall be allowed to assessee while computing his income in previous year, which includes undisclosed. So, अगर आपके यहाँ सर्च हो गए, सर्वे हो गए, तो ये जो सेट ऑफ लॉसेस है आपकी जो अनडिस्क्लोज इनकम है इसके सामने आपको नहीं मिलेगा। दिस सेक्शन वुड बी एप्लीकेबल फ्रॉम 4 अप्रैल 2022। That is found that in the course of search under section 132 or requisition under section 132A, 133A or other than TDS survey, this is represented either wholly or partly by any entry in the books of account in respect of expense or other document maintained in the normal course relating to previous year, which is found to be false and would not have been found so had the search not taken place or survey has not been conducted. तो जो भी आपकी undisclosed है वो no set off will be allowed during the 194R. Deduction in respect of purchase in respect of business or profession. जनरली ये फॉरेन टूर ले जाते थे, कुछ एक्सपेंडिचर कंपनी के लिए करते, फ्री भी गिफ्ट देते थे टू ए पर्सन who is running his soul selling agency or those who are benefiting the company. तो कंपनी को जो होता था तो कंपनी was taking it as an expense, but it was not says an expense in the books of in this not so the books of the firm or the person or individual, whatever may be. So to plug this loophole, any company making an expenses for the benefit of acquisite in respect of business profession to any person, they will deduct 10% if the amount is more than 20,000. The perquisite of cash on kind, partly in kind. Suppose वो सिंगापुर टूर में ले गए, इनको कोई गिफ्ट भेजा, इनको कोई कॉन्फ्रेंस में बुलाए, तो सेम विल बी इंक्लूडेड एज एन इनकम in the hands of the person who received the benefit, but this section will not apply to a person, specified person, जिसको 20,000 से कम एक्सपेंस है। बाकी ये section 194 are very clear. This is to plug the expenses which are incurred by the corporate and not shown in the income of the other person. ये कोविड के दरमियान काफी लोगों ने खर्चा किया है. एम्प्लॉयर ने एम्प्लॉई को medical treatment free दी, then it will not be considered as a perquisite if it is for the purpose of COVID expenses. The same is with regard to any compensation paid in case of a death of an employee. There would be no limit and it will not be considered as perquisite. COVID is a pandemic and people have made a huge loss and company can reimburse the employee for the purpose. ये स्टेट गवर्नमेंट सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के एम्प्लॉय को 14% नेशनल एनपीएस में रखते तो मिलता था. ये इन्हों को भी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट वाले को नहीं मिलता था. तो विथ इफेक्ट फ्रॉम 1/4/20 the state government employee also will be entitled for at 14% deduction. कोविड मैंने परक्विजिट ये मैंने ले लिया, आगे के सेक्शन में बोल दिया. So I am not going into detail in this, but COVID related expenses, any expenses and this thing. 50 कोविड के रिलेटेड एक्सपेंसेस में काफी लोगों ने कोविड को कोविड में some of the NGO, some of the individual has given a money to a COVID patient, COVID death person. That medical treatment expenses will not be treated as an income under section 56(2)(10). In any money received by them in aggregate, if it is less than 10 lakh, it will not be considered as a gift in the hands of the recipient of a family whose death has happened. 56(2)(10). I'm not going into detail. I'm not reading the section also. Family COVID के लिए expenses, family के definition not as per this but as per section 10(5), which is a restrictive definition, which is not as wide as this thing. I'm not explaining you the 10(5) definition. 43B, जब कोई NBFC, कोई भी बैंक, उनके अकाउंट में इंटरेस्ट अकाउंट डेबिट होता है and is debited, and to that extent if the payment is not made to the bank and NBFC, it is not allowed under section 43B, but they are paying, they are replacing interest with the non-convertible bond, reschedulement of a loan, converting into equity. These are to avoid these words are added, and 43B allowance will not be available. In section 43B, income tax with effect from 1st April 2020, and explanation 3C, after the words loan or buying, the word debenture or any other instrument by which the liability to pay is deferred to a future date. Section 3, loan or borrowing or any other instrument by liability deferred to a future date shall be inserted. Loan or debenture, so this free section has been added to see that 43B deduction is not available, not on payment, but for deferment of liability. ATIAC has been extended by 1 more year. This startup company are entitled for exemption for consecutive 3 years. In case of a startup, out of 10 years, 3 years, equal to 100% of the profit they choose and continuously for 3 years. It is the total turnover of business must not exceed 100 crore. The approval of interministerial board has been received. It is incorporated after 1st April 2006, but before this thing, the same will be available. The sunset provision has been extended by 1 year in case of ATIAC. 115AB extends this provision also for a domestic manufacturing company. This was likely to be sunset for 31st March 23, has been extended by 1 year. 115BAB, a new manufacturing and domestic companies, the state section provides specific need to specify eligible for tax provision. Clause A, subsection 2 of the state section requires that domestic should be set up and registered before 2019, the commencement of production has been postponed by 1 more year because of pandemic. 14A. 14A is the expense under which if you are uh, incurring an expenditure for an income which is exempt, the expenses incurred for that will not be allowable, but it is an expense. The section is removal of a doubt. If because of the investment made by you, because of the income earned by you, though the income is not on the credit side of profit and loss account, but there is a debit side of expenses, the same shall not be allowed as an expenses, because even though there is no income, the purpose of the whole expenditure is made in order to earn exam income. So that expenses will not be allowable as a deduction. This is clarified and it is made retrospective. So this is 14A. Pharma sector where in the case of doctors now are not allowed to take any gift. They are not allowed to take any tour or conference expenses from a pharmaceutical company, because this is prohibited by law. If any pharma company were incurring the expenditure for the purpose of the same, they were assuming that this is an allowable, the same was the allowable as expense, though it was prohibited by law as per medical council. In order to avoid that pharma company do not take an advantage and deduct expenditure, this section is added. It's so that any expenditure incurred which is not, which is prohibited by the recipient, the same shall not be allowed by the payee also. There were dividend stripping was happening. The same way was bonus stripping was happening. So what they have done to prevent that, if a bonus is declared, a record date is there, record date से 3 महीने पहले और 9 months के बाद में आपने खरीद के बेचा है, and because of that you made a loss as a capital gain, it will not be allowed as in capital gain or business expenses. So clear. Dividend stripping की तरह bonus stripping किया for a listed company. How they made a provision? They bought inserted security into that. But I'm not going to. But in nutshell, this is the section. Contribution मैंने वो ले लिया आगे. ATTD. Any expenditure, any payment made for the annuity or a lump sum made payment made for a person who is dependent in having a physical deformity, which does not entitle him to make this thing, in order to make the provision for the dependent. There was a provision that the lump sum payment made by them or subsequent made by them was allowable as an expense. But now that section is that suppose a person is an individual who are providing for the expenses of the dependent person who is disabled, in order to make the reimburse the ability of that person to be maintained. That person was insured under section 80D. The section was allowed as an expenditure, but now they said that up to, if he is incapable up to 60, वो 60 years तक payment करता है, then he make a maturity and see that the payment is received after he becomes 60, these expenses still will be allowed. But one rider they have added, if that person who is disabled, dependent disabled, he dies before before that person guardian dies, then the LIC insurance premium paid would be added to the income of that person, and this individual or guardian would apply to HUF or a member of an HUF. So ATDD I have explained in the simple and understandable way. The goodwill was paid, goodwill was not allowed a depreciation as per section 50. The cost of acquisition was considered as an asset and the depreciation till that date provided would be deducted from the cost of asset. This is an explanatory section inserted during this year. So मेरा 1 करोड़ का गुडविल मैंने पेड किया और अब तक मैंने डेप्रिसिएशन क्लेम किया था. नाउ losses depreciation will not be there, but to that extent depreciation will be deducted from the cost of acquisition. This amendment will take effect retrospectively from 1st April 2021. The law provides that donors shall be given the certificate that expenditure incurred is mentioned in the statement needs to be given and it should be auto-populated. Otherwise, that person will not be allowed to do expenditure on the same. This is a very simple 119 provision where they say that section 234F fee, sometimes it is not because of some reason they are not able to pay the penalty under section 234F. By general or special order, the circular will be issued. Section 1192A empowers to issue a general or special order in respect of a class of income or class of cases to be followed by other income taxes by way of a relaxation or otherwise there will be provisions of this section specified for the purpose of efficient and work management of a collection of a revenue. It is proposed to insert 234 relating to fees for default in furnished return to the list of sections mentioned therein, which relaxation will be allowed by the board as per section 1st April 2022. One amendment in section 132 relating to search and seizure. Section 8 of the said section provides that the books of account or other document seized under section 1 and 1A of the said section shall not be retained by authorized officer. इन्होंने बोला कि जब आपका assessment under section 153A clause C of 150BC is over, then you should return the books of account within 180 days to the a person whose books are there. If you are not able, you don't want to give it back for any reason, then principal chief commissioner, principal commissioner, commissioner, or principal director can need approval needs to be made. It is proposed that the section provided therein shall be applicable to. This section will be applicable from 1st April 2019-22. The books upon need to be returned. Application for requisition seizure of requisition of asset. Completing assessment reassessment in the case of 132 subsection 1 that asset seize needs to be इसका जो भी इंटरेस्ट है वो उनको जो भी पे करना है वो करना पड़ेगा. This is I'm not going into detail of 132B of requisition of assets. 133A of income tax relating to power of survey. Explain define the income. It is proposed to amend the income tax authority to mean who is subordinate to principal director or the director, principal commissioner. ये इनके लिए जो अथॉरिटी है वो इनकम टैक्स अथॉरिटी को इन्होंने 133A में डिफाइन किया है. 240A नो अपील शैल बी फाइल्ड आफ्टर 22. अगर मुझे किसी का टैक्स डिडक्ट करना है and as per law I should be supposed to do, and if I don't do it then पहले appeal prefer करना था, but now this appeal is not allowed. Let me go through this section once again, but it is generally not applicable to everyone. But shortly, let me redefine. The said section provides that where an agreement or other arrangement tax deductible on any income other than interest under section 185 is to be borne by the person by whom the income is payable. Such person having paid such income to the credit of central government claims no tax is required to be deduction, he may appeal. Now this appeal is not allowed. He can claim the refund as deducted by the person. Procedure when in appeal revenue. 150 procedure when appeal procedure when in an appeal by revenue identical question of law related to सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट और मे बी, इन्होंने ये सेक्शन पूरी डिटेल में समझाई है कि व्हाट इज द क्वेश्चन 150 प्रोसीजर वेयर an identical question of law is pending before High Court or Supreme Court. Section 155AB, notwithstanding anything contained in this act, where the collegium is of the opinion that any question of law arising in the case of an SSC for any assessment year, such case being hereinafter referred to a relevant case is identical with a question of law in his case, or Pradeep, I'll answering you in detail. You can WhatsApp me the question. Okay. Are you hearing the voice? That's all I'm saying. I'm not answering the question right now. एक मिनट हाँ. Sorry, I'm back. Such question is pending before the jurisdiction High Court under Section 260A. If anyone want to ask me the question, just let me finish this talk or email me. I'll answer in detail about the question right now. Okay. Any question of law arising in the case of SSC where an assessment year, such case here we refer if the same question of law is for different assessment year or for any other SSC, such question is pending before the jurisdiction High Court under Section 260 or under the Supreme Court in appeal under Section 2 SLP under Section 136 of the Constitution against the order of appellate tribunal, or as the case may in favor of SSC, such referred to as case. The collegium may decide and inform the principal commissioner or commissioner not to file an appeal at this stage to the appellate tribunal under Section 253, and they may go, there is a procedure being followed. The principal commissioner, I'm not going into detail because this procedure is very simple, and I'm leaving this section right now here. I'm taking 172A. There is a problem in case when a company goes into liquidation or company go into IBC under NCLT during the pendency, there are return filed or return is assessed. The period during which the assessment is pending, the act, the Supreme Court has provided in the judgment that they can file a revised return and assessment can be done. But this law has been amended specifically under Section 172A to facilitate in the case of business organization the reason to file a revised return or submit the return. Now this is the crux. I've said you, let me read it. I don't want to read it. Should I read it? Let me read it. In the case of reorganization, the assessment, reassessment, or another proceeding made on the predecessor during the course of pendency of such organization shall be deemed to have been made on the successor, and all the provisions of this act, so far as may apply accordingly. Business organization means the reorganization involving the amalgamation, demerger, and one or more. Pendency means period of commencing from the date of filing return application of such reorganization business before High Court tribunal, or the date of admission of every corporate insolvency resolution by adjudicatory authority as defined in section 1, clause 1 of section 5 of IBC, and ending with the date on which the order of such High Court or tribunal or such as may be received by the principal commissioner or the commissioner, notwithstanding anything contained in section 139 within 6 months from the end of the month in which the order is passed by IBC, the successor can modify the return filed by the predecessor. So this is in crux 170, 172A. 115D, certain dividend from foreign company. फॉरेन कंपनी को जो डिविडेंड मिलता था वो लायबल एट अ डिस्काउंट रेट ऑफ 15%. नाउ गवर्नमेंट सेज दैट if this provision would be par with other law, so ATM will be available, so there won't be much tax impact. the whole faceless assessment has been going on. The government, what was going on? There is NBFC assessing unit, verifying unit, review unit, technical unit, notice were issued 143 to 141A, notice were issued to SSC through NBSC. Opportunity of hearing was there. There would be there would be one video conferencing was allowed. Video opportunity will be given. Any video conferencing not done and assessment is done, that assessment will be considered as a null and void. Okay, there would be dispute resolution panel, AU 140. This is not explained because this is detail, it will be available in clause 42 and 43, but I've given you in summary, this is the way it is going on. Changes the faceless assessment in effect from first, and there is a various difficulty facing by both department and taxpayer. Therefore, budget has proposed new few changes in the mention from the SSC will be intimated on assignment of the case to SSC. Assessment unit shall be complete the assessment as processed later in the first assessment. A reply given to NBS will be submitted to SSC unit, and the SSC unit will ask for any additional information, ALP, valuation, property withdrawal, resignation, approval of exemption, and any other technical matter will be passing on automatic allocation. So SSC can file an objection of DRP. Person who shall not be required to appear before personally. However, video conferencing and present and consular media will be allowed. Assessment shall be void if the procedure is not followed. So this is all I have said before. Now this is the next slide. ये सब changes in provision rate assessment penalty. Government is planned faceless scheme of implementation, faceless in ALP, faceless in DRP, faceless appeal to appellate tribunal, faceless procedure to appellate tribunal, set of laws around cannot be adjusted again, disclosing which I have already covered in my earlier slide. 15627B. This is a provision for a very rare provision for this thing, include category 1 and 2. ये लोग क्या बोल रहे हैं? What is the provision said in case of, let me, this is a technical very rare applicability. This applicability is increased for the purpose of IFCS. जो गिफ्ट सिटी है उसको बढ़ाने के लिए इन्होंने ये सेक्शन में specified fund which was previously available to this has been extended. In case of a venture capital, if the venture capital fund receives more consideration than the fair market value of the shares, and that day this section will not be applicable. Tax will not be. 4G income received from non-resident and portfolio scheme will not be available. Carried losses in case of certain companies. Section 79 carried for a set of losses in case of certain companies. Subsection 1 of the said section inter area provides that where a change in shareholder has taken place during previous year in the case of a company not being a company with public has substantial interest, no loss incurred in a previous year prior to previous year shall be carried forward and set off against the income of unless the last day of the period the shares of the company carrying not less than 51% of voting power. ये मैं नहीं लेता हूँ, मैंने अल्टीमेट होल्डिंग कंपनी जो भी है इनको कैरिड फॉर लॉस बाद मिलेगा. Some of the section is basically for even Air India also. Private limited company and directors liability quad tax 179 clarifies that tax अगर प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी है अगर उसका इनकम टैक्स ये लोग नहीं भर पाते तो डायरेक्टर आर पर्सनली रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द टैक्स टू बी पेड. This they make a clarification that tax include the fees also. They say private limited includes private limited in liquidation also. 144. It is proposed to amend subsection 1 of section 1 of the said provide that assessing shall make a base judgment assessment if any person failed to furnish updated return under section 139(8)(a) along with the failure to make the return under section 4(5). Base judgment assessment is defined. No appeal shall be filed after 1st April 244. जो section provides, this section 248 to income direct appeal by person denying liability to deduct tax in circle. The state section provides that where under an agreement or other arrangement, the tax deductible on any income other than interest under section 95 is to be borne by the person whom the income is payable, and such person having paid such tax to the credit of income claims that no tax is required to be deducted, he may appeal to the commissioner. He said that if somebody is liable to pay TDS on behalf of somebody and he wants to prefer an appeal that he is not liable for tax, that appeal is not allowable. You don't pay tax right now. You pay tax and claim the refund. That is what the government is. So there is a very huge and wide change in section 10, 11, 13, 10, 23C. A section 10, 23C, finance institution, education and other institution, and section 11T were parallel. There are 23 pages in the budget for changes in these two sections. These two sections are parallel, and there have been very different in one provision 1023 and 1112. There is a provision made to make them almost equal, parallel. Donation, one more section, donation to temple, gurudwara for repair and renovation will be considered as corpus donation. So any donation, so it would go to under section 13, repair and renovation will be considered as a corpus donation. Trust needs to keep the book of account. पहले इन्होंने बुक्स में पहले अंदर प्रोविजन में ऐसा था कि ऑडिट करना जरूरी है बट बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट लिखना जरूरी है. दे मेड द स्पेसिफिक फॉर्म 10 for carried forward more than 15%, less than 15%. There was a form 10 needs to be filed for 11, but there was no similar provision 10 23C provision. Now they said that in both the cases it will apply, and same needs to be filed with the return and before the filing of due date of return. So both are, if any benefit directly or indirectly provided to a person and mentioned in section 33, अगर जो भी ट्रस्ट है इनका जो मेन ट्रस्टी का बेनिफिशियरी को कोई लाभ मिलता है, if for the first time 100% of benefit, if it is more than once, there will be twice the amount of penalty would be levied. If indirect benefit is passed from the trust to the trustee, and its definition is under section 13(3). Accumulated money needs to be utilized in the 5th year. अब तक प्रोविजन ये था कि 5th ईयर में नहीं भरते हो तो 6th ईयर में टैक्स लगता है. Now they say that it would be taxable in the hand of 5th year only. And ये सेक्शन पहले 1023C में नहीं था, बट उधर भी ये लोग ये प्रोविजन brought it there. Cancellation provision is discussed in the next slide. The authority is empowered to cancel the registration of non-genuine trust or by passing an order under section 143. The reason for cancellation of trust is laid down as below. Authority has noticed occurrence of one or more violation during year. AO has passed some of the information issued based on the risk management software of the income tax. Specific violation which result in trust cancellation is defined in new section 12AB4, which defines the following violation. Any income of the trust can be applied other than the object for which it has been established. Income or profit which is incident, which is not incident or object of the trust. Separate books of account are not maintained for business as well as other activity. Trust has applied part of income from property for private religious trust and not for the public. Trust has applied fund for the benefit of particular any religious community and activity is not genuine, then the trust cancellation may happen. The notice for cancellation of the trust will be given. The same order for cancellation, SCN for cancellation, has to be accepted, or cancellation should be prevailing if it is issued in not in the month in which the notice SCN is issued, within 6 months of the quarter in which the notice is issued. SCN will be issued and answer will be taken cognizance before coming to a conclusion. This is section 10(11)(a). Previously, no donation is allowed to research and college if return is not filed. If the current budget amendment is made and clarification issued that in case of statement of donation is not filed, donor cannot claim the deduction. New section 27AA(E), which I have already discussed in detail. With this, I coming into the end of the conclusion. Thank you for coming to listen to this thing. I am a founder of ISACA chapter Ahmedabad, Nitin Pathak. Visit blog say Nitin and Pathak blogspot.com. If any question in this, email me, WhatsApp me. And with this, I'm concluding this session. But any question regarding this is a lengthy budget. Few of the section I have not covered. This PPT will be available in the blog. And next coming Friday, 18th February 22, 6:30, I am going to cover in-depth decoding of GST qua real estate transaction. This is I'm going to take. With this, you just any of all my presentation would be available on YouTube and blog and LinkedIn also. With this, let me conclude the session. Thank you very much, everyone who has come and listened to me. Any question, I'm ready to ask that. Let me go to that. Hi sir, good evening. If you can reply after the session, my email ID. The question about entertainment allowance mentioned before the government, this thing, I'll be answering that also. Food allowance 64. You go to my presentation on employer employee where detailed discussion is there. Can you kindly let me know all the downloadable? It is available on nitinmpathak@gmail.com or blogspot.com. Thank you very much. See you once again. Anyone has a question, you can directly WhatsApp me. Abhay Mori, Anal, Chirag, Premal Mehta, Rajesh, Shyam, Raj Kishore. Thank you very much. Once again, I'm just concluding with this. I'm signing off right now. Thank you. I'll be presenting all this in a blog also. Thanks.